Hey homesteaders, my name is Melissa with Gillian Homestead, and welcome to my channel, where I focus on homesteading skills, self-sufficiency, and resilience. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. I do one new video a week sharing how we're homesteading on a quarter-acre lot in an urban community. Today, I'm sitting in my garden, and I just wanted to share with you a meal that I put together a few days ago with items from our garden that we preserved from last season. So I'm going to show you how I've used some dehydrated tomatoes and some other things from my pantry to help create a quick, lovely meal from things that we grew here on our small little urban homestead. Okay, last year I took my tomatoes from my garden and I dehydrated them so that I could create some sun-dried tomatoes in my pantry. Sun-dried tomatoes typically in my area are $7 to $8 a jar. They're very expensive. And so what I did was just slice a plum tomato in half and put it in the dehydrator and then stored it in some airtight containers for the winter. Let me tell you, when you open up those tomatoes, how so fresh and how they smell like summer, even 9 months after I put them in these airtight jars. They're fabulous. So it's pretty common for me after work to throw my apron on and to clean up from breakfast and get going on a meal. Today I had some cheese left over from the pizza that we made the night before, and I really wanted to do something to pull some things out of my pantry so that I could kind of get on board with emptying some things out so that we have plenty of jars available for harvest this season. So I'm kind of working through what we have in our pantry, and this is why I decided to use some of my dehydrated or sun-dried, quote unquote sun-dried tomatoes. So here I just took a bunch of my sun-dried tomatoes and threw them in boiling water. I'm going to put this in a spaghetti pasta. So if you're going to preserve these like in your fridge for a few days, you can actually cook them down like this and then put them in some oil and Italian seasoning and then close a jar up, and it'll stay in your refrigerator for, about 3 days probably. I think is what I've normally read, about 3 days they'll last. But I was going to use these right away, so I didn't bother actually even getting any oil out. So I cooked them down for about 5 to 6 minutes in some boiling water just to soften these tomatoes up and to rehydrate them. And I'm really just kind of making this recipe up on the fly. I've not made this recipe before, but it turned out fabulous. I actually took a recipe from a pizza that I made the night before, and I just incorporated it into a pasta. The other thing I had was, as you can see right there, I've got some garlic in that water. I have some frozen garlic that we had from last season that started to kind of go south on us, so we peeled all the garlic and stuck it in the freezer. I've shared that before this since I've started doing YouTube, and we're getting to the end of that. And so a good way to be able to use that up is I just threw that in some boiling water to soften it up. And then I chopped it up as well as the sun-dried tomatoes to add to my spaghetti pasta that we're going to make here shortly. Okay, so after dicing up all of my tomatoes and my garlic, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this recipe, in particular, this pasta that we are using. You could use regular pasta, but Steve and I really don't eat very much pasta because it's kind of carby and it's just not something that we typically eat. But we do eat spaghetti squash a lot, and my harvest last year of spaghetti squash was not very good at all. We had a really bad time with the squash bugs, and I only ended up getting like 2 or 3 spaghetti squash, which was really sad for us because we didn't eat near as much this winter as we usually do because we didn't have it available. But a few weeks ago, I went to the grocery store and I bought some spaghetti squash because I was really kind of craving it. And it was very expensive. I've shared on here before. It was around $4 per squash, which is crazy because you can plant a couple of seeds and get whole winter's worth of squash for like 50 cents or something. It's insane what it costs you to grow that amount of squash or for what you pay at the grocery store. It's just nutty. So I went ahead, broke down, bought 2 squash. This was the last one I had. The other thing great about winter spaghetti squash is that it'll last in your pantry pretty much all winter long. So I had some leftover chicken. I had made a chicken Alfredo pizza the night before. I had some leftover chicken. I had that in the fridge. So I pulled that out, just put it in the food processor and chopped that all up. And then I am getting ready to throw everything in the skillet and we will get working on this recipe. So this recipe is super easy. I just threw a tablespoon of butter into my skillet and then I threw my tomatoes and my garlic in there to saute them up. Meanwhile, my spaghetti squash came out of the oven. I bake my spaghetti squash till al dente because I'm normally baking my spaghetti squash after that, so I don't want it to be too mushy. So 350 degrees for 25 minutes is perfect, and then you basically just shred the center of it out into a spaghetti-like, it has like a spaghetti-like texture, and so you just really just shred that right out. And you can see I'm struggling because it is super hot, but I needed to get this done because Steve is on his way home from the gym and I know he's going to be hungry when he gets here. So just shred the chicken up, stick it in a pan, and you're good to go with your spaghetti squash. I sauteed my onion and my sun-dried tomato. I added about 4 ounces of cream cheese and a cup of milk and just melted that down, and then added a little bit of Parmesan cheese into that sauce as well. So it's like it really creates like an Alfredo sauce. So I've got a tomato garlic Alfredo sauce right there, and I cook that until it's smooth, creamy, and thick. And it takes about 20 minutes or so. It doesn't take long at all. And then I threw that spaghetti squash in my pan. As you can see, I topped it with chicken and topped it with that Alfredo sauce. And we baked it for about 20 minutes at 350 degrees. So this is just a great way to be able to use leftovers in your pantry, things that you've preserved from the year before. I often will go through my pantry, see what needs to be used, and try to pull together a meal for us for just that reason, because we need the canning jars and we don't want to spend money at the grocery store. So I'm just using whatever I have in my pantry to create just a really great meal for us for the weekend. And then we also had leftovers really for the week as well. We had a little bit of leftovers to take with us for lunch. So then I just topped it with some Parmesan cheese and some mozzarella cheese, baked it. Oh, I also threw some Italian seasoning over the top of that, baked it until it was heated all the way through. It was just some yummy goodness. We're so glad that you joined us today. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. We hope you're having the best day. Bye.